it's Zoe. So today we're going to be talking about the bans on genderqueer by Maia, Kobabe. And it goes kind of crazy, so let's get into it. Today we're going to be talking about the fact that this is the most frequently challenged book in America across schools. Why? A great question. It specifically comes from people, said book banners, that don't agree with certain things and take things out of context. Okay. So to understand this controversy, we have to look through the lens of civic education theory. First, consider Joel Westheim and Joseph Kahn's framework of a social justice-oriented citizen. In their research, a social justice citizen doesn't just participate in acts of charity, they investigate social, economic, political structures in order to understand the root cause of inequality. It's not just as simple as picking up someone's wallet and not taking money, even though that's a good thing to do. Like, you shouldn't steal, obviously. So whenever we're including that lens with school libraries and genderqueer, we can pretty much examine how gender norms and institutional exclusion has historically and systemically made it hard and impossible for anybody that is a minority to have any sense of this is what I relate to, this is who I am, this is something that speaks to me. Now we're gonna go on the other side. We're gonna layer this analysis with the ideal of inclusive citizenship. There's a modern emphasis is less on legal rules and more on norms, practices, meanings, identities, more individual. This directly ties with inclusive cultural citizenship. Sorry. Through the lens, it becomes a tool for speaking from the standpoint of the excluded. It's sort of okay, this group of people is excluded, let's give them the mic and quit giving it to the white male. According to Nick Stevenson, cultural citizenship is fundamentally concerned with the questions of imagination, identity, recognition, and belonging, and seeks to rework images, assumptions, and representations that seem to be exclusive as well as marginalizing. So a school library shelf is a public sphere, right? Is where students get their books. What's on the shelf is what you get. Most people don't, just have a massive library at their house or can't afford to buy a bajillion books. So it's really important. Okay, so why are people trying to ban this book? So this book, there are some pages that people may find quote unquote bad, but I think it's mainly just because it's drawn out. This scene specifically, they're looking at the pictures. They're looking at one aspect of it without the context of the whole entire thing. And they're getting triggered by it, and that's fine. But it's not okay to ban the book, right? So they're completely ignoring the fact that there's a thing called the Miller's test, slaps. They're just being triggered, and they're not actually they're not actually tying in the cultural significance, the artistic significance, how important it is to a community of people. They're just looking at it and they're like, I don't want my 5-year-old to read that. Okay. And then they're banning it for everyone. So crazy, right? Yeah. And I would like to like refute whenever people are like, okay, there's this scene that's like horrible, that is like triggering, that is this or that is that, you know, like the blood. Okay, yeah, but like as a female, same female of Earth, I've had nightmares about periods. I feel like that's like a common thing, and to ban it from a bookshelf is like weird because it's also like hard truths are also like good parts of life. You know, you have to have both in order to live. But I guess some people don't agree with that. One specific like thing I loved, and I feel like it's a treasure, is the ideal that like gender is more of a landscape instead of a scale. Like there is no big box for anyone ever. You can be whatever, whenever, however you want. And I think that's really beautiful. And it ties it all together in such a beautiful way that's not confusing. And it's like, I wish I had this whenever I was in high school, middle school. Never heard of it. I mean, it was my first time reading it as a 22-year-old. And I think it's very important and integral to growing up. And I had no way to think that it's triggering. I think it's obviously just the parents projecting. Very like core part of cultural citizenship by Pitsulski is the right to be different, to revalue stigmatized identities, and to embrace openly legitimately hetero marginalized lifestyles. And by silencing this book, you're completely silencing any realm of gender questioning and comfort, which I feel like most people go through at some point in their life. It's not uncommon to feel like you're not who people say you are, or that you're not what you see in the mirror, or the box that like you're not A or B, and you might not even be C. And that's good, that's fine. Overall, what happens whenever books like genderqueer specifically gets removed from like bookshelves? Well, one, it makes it to where you can't get it accessibly. It makes the marginalized communities more marginalized than they already were. And it's really sad because it makes the kid that feels alone completely isolated. And while in the room there may be 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 kids that also feel the same way, they'll never find that connection because there is no blueprint, there is no exception of the ideal. It's you can be this or you can be that, and that's all they're allowing. In order to fix this, we need to realize that we have to protect the justice, the recognition, and the self-determination of the students. It is not in a parent's right to say for all students this is not allowed. We need to create third spaces that are very inclusive of set up like marginalized communities being targeted. LGBTQ. So I see this is specifically targeting LGBTQ, non-binary people, and we need to make it to where there are resources outside of just school. And while that does not erase the problem at all, and it makes it to where there's going to be countless kids that grow up into adults and they have no idea what's happening, and then they finally get the book whenever they're 25 and think, oh, that's what I was feeling my whole life. But we will still allow these ideals to be continued, and we also have to continue to push back, because to say that there's no like value in this book is to admit you never read it. It's to admit that you didn't even take time to think about how it felt for Maia Kobabe. And again, this is a memoir. This is about E's life. So it is to say your experience is banned, and I don't accept it. They like to pick and choose. It's unsettling, it's unnerving, it's uneducated. Taking genderqueer off the shelves is to take off an integral part of society off the shelves, is to take a brick off the wall, and the wall's gonna fall down, the wall's gonna plummet, and guess what? It's your fault because you took the brick out. So we're trying to stuff cardboard in it and stuff, and we're working on it, but we gotta nip it in the bud. We gotta fix this, because that's crazy. But yeah, so this has been literally crazy, and I'm so glad that you like watched this, and we got to experience and share the sadness, the happiness of joining us. I highly recommend read it. Yeah.